we would have expected them in the last meeting without forcing them to be here. Chair, I understand when they made a presentation, they make an indication that they would have acted against the law for sharing this information that we've been presented with right now. So they needed to be summoned so that they are protected or given immunity of that information. I don't quite agree with that. You needed the immunity for something else, not for sharing the information that you just did. The information that you have given us, actually, it's public knowledge by now. We did an unannounced visit last week. All that you have given us, we've gotten it at that unannounced visit. In actual fact, some of the things that you would have spoken to, they contradict one another. The times don't speak to each other. For me, it's pure lie. And we have a legal rep here whom there are consequences for lying to us. Chair, the report for me is a whitewash. They exonerate themselves, G4S, in this report. There are a number of standard operational procedures that the center must do that were not followed, hence led to the escape. There are a number of security lapses in the process that are glaring and unaccounted for in the report given to us. There seem to be no management oversight on the whole operations of the center because of the report does not speak. Since the process, the escape or the attempts or all those things, what is that the management has done? And what has been the oversight of that management throughout the process? For me, he keeps on saying we've done a lot, we've provided authorities with information, we've given. There's no accountability to say here we've erred, here it's our mistake that led to this. So hence I'm saying I'm actually becoming.
Honorable Ramulubeng, sorry to interrupt. Maybe you should ask questions and make observations when you are done with questions.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to put it there so that when I raise questions, they're able to be backed up where they're coming from. Because if I don't want to make this baseless remarks that are not informed by questions. And I'm saying this because, Chair, I went to Mangaung, and the good part of it is that was my second visit to the center, and the center manager took us through on an official oversight. I know your bed space of 2928. When we were there, Chair, there was also an indication that there were 3 escapes that they were mentioned when we asked if previously had the center had any escapes outside the Bester issue. There was an issue mentioned that there were 3 escapes, and then one was the one that was never traced or brought back. My question is, who are those people that have escaped? Because it seems there is a trend of escapes, including the one currently in December, of someone that escaped from the hospital, who was then brought back. My reasoning for this is that it might be that the Bester issue would have gone out of hand because of it's a high-profile case. And then there's other ones, because of they're not high-profile, we never got to know about them. Were these escapes outside Bester reported, especially to the DCS or to the DCS controller, who is based in Mangaung? That's my first question, Chair.
Thank you. Answer?
Honourable Chair, I'll ask Mr. Bijleveld to provide the Honourable Member with details. There was an escape in 2003. Then there was the inmate Bester, what we now know to be an inmate Bester escape in May 2022. And then there was also an incident from a health facility where an inmate was temporarily held for medical care in December 2022. But Mr. Bijleveld can give the Honourable Member further details.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I can just report that these, as requested, was reported to the Central Services Controller on site. It was investigated. The case of 2003, we were found guilty by the supervisory committee, and a fine was posted on the contractor for that incident. And the other 2 incidents are currently still pending. The one of the escape from the hospital outside, and then the best one that came on the record now.
Was the DCS controller based in Mangaung informed, or the DCS in total of the 2 escapes?
The DCS controller was informed because he is the representative of the National Commissioner at the centre, Honourable Member.
Thank you. Chair, they make mention that the fire broke at 4 o'clock in the morning. And based on our visit when we went there and the footage that we saw, it says the fire broke at 2:30 a.m. And then 2:59, it was reported that the fire broke. Which is which? 4 o'clock, that gets to be reported. The CCTV footage that we have seen with honourable members that were present on the site on the day says 2:30, the fire broke. 2:59, it was reported. And 2:30 exactly, the 2 gentlemen who you spoke of were seen running towards that main block. So how do 2 people run when the fire, it shows on the CCTV that it has broke, but it gets to be reported at 4 o'clock? Which one is it? Thanks, Chair.
Honourable Member, if I can answer you to that, there was 2 reports that night. A report at 3 o'clock that reported there was a fire. It was investigated by the supervisor, Senoi. It formed part of the reason why he was suspended and found guilty and dismissed, as he did not investigate that properly. The reason why the 4 o'clock is this is when the official incident happened, what led to the investigation. So that's why there's 4 o'clock on the document. There was an incident of 3 o'clock, I confirm that, and it's in the same time that the 2 officials that we referred to, or 2 persons, was viewed on the camera for a few seconds on the video footage that was shown to the committee.
Why are you telling us that 2:30, 2:59 the fire broke? It was then reported at 4 o'clock. Why are you giving us 4 o'clock that the fire broke?
Because that's the official time that the fire broke, Your Honourable Member, that
But that
led
is
to the
not.
incident.
That is not. The CCTV footage says 2:59 it was reported from your controller room. 2:30 fire broke. You are saying here 4 o'clock fire broke. Why are you not saying to us that at 4 o'clock in terms of your documentation and your administrational processes, that's when it was recorded? You are confirming that 3 o'clock indeed it broke, but you are writing to us here in black and white that it's 4 o'clock.
Honourable Member, I can only I'm sorry that 3 o'clock is not included in the document. It was, however, included in our investigation. It was looked at, and as I've indicated, that gave the reasons why we acted against the employees.
Okay, what happened to the 2 guys that were running across the building at 2:59 who were spotted? Where do you assume they ended up? And what happened afterwards? Did you try to trace them and see who are those possible 2 people? And can you, not in essence assuring us, give an indication that perhaps one of them might have been Bester running across?
Honourable Member, I cannot conclude that one of them was not Bester. It was indicated that it was impossible as a result of the video footage that only showed that few seconds to determine who the 2 people was. The video footage is very blurry and for a few seconds, and that's why we indicated that it's unknown, and we've reported that to SAPS to include in the investigation that has been reported to them.
There were 2 controllers, operators who were controlling the control room on the night of the fire or on the night of the incident. What happened to them? What was happening to them when the fire broke, because of that, the ones who were controlling the whole center?
Honourable Member, they were both investigated, found to be not in line with policies and procedures. Both of them were suspended and then afterwards dismissed. So they're not in the employ of the company anymore.
When was this? The dismissal, the investigation, when did they start?
The investigation started on the 3rd of May. The suspension started on the 6th of June. And The one was dismissed on the 6th of December, and the other one on the 31st of January 2023.
So the investigation started on the 3rd and 6th of May. Am I correct?
The investigation started with affidavits being taken on the 3rd of May already, at the day of the incident. Yes, Honourable.
And then the first suspension was when?
6th of June.
The 6th of, so when you started investigation 6th of June, also getting the autopsy report from SAPS, you had an indication, you might have been aware that this was an escape. In actual fact, the body that burned in the cell was not entirely of Bester.
Honourable Member, I can confirm that we never received the autopsy report. The first time we received it was with a meeting with chicks, as indicated in the presentation by my colleague.
Okay. I want to ask this. Based on your contract with DCS or with the state, are you not in breach of it, especially with these escapes? Or in somehow holding the information? Because from my records and the unannounced visit we did, from these investigations that you have carried out or you have done, they make a recollection that says around June, when you started dismissing or suspending employees or officials that they're working on the said day, you had an idea that this was an escape, and you did not even inform authorities or the DCS in that matter. So, hence you would have you wanted to be summoned to this meeting so that you are protected with what you are going to say here, so that it's not used against you outside. Is this why you wanted to be summoned in this meeting? Not the legal issue of being on the, don't bring that rhetoric, please.
Honourable Chair, we did not want to be summoned to seek immunity for fear of what we will say to this committee. In terms of the Correctional Services Act, and in terms of the contract that we have with BCC, and the contract BCC in turn has with the Department of Correctional Services, we are legally restricted from talking to any third party regarding the operations of the Mangaung facility. All information that we have regarding that facility has to go to the outside world, for lack of a better word, through the DCS. And that is the sole reason why we sought a summons, because the summons allows us to say to this committee what we cannot say to anyone other but the DCS. We did not seek immunity for fear of saying something today that would incriminate ourselves.
Okay, can I put it this bluntly? Do you agree this is a breach of contract between the two, between DCS and G4S, with these escapes?
Honourable Member, I don't know if it's a breach or not. I think one will need to look at the contract. I think it's clear, as Mr. Bijleveld has said, or Mr. Munyante has said, that in 22 years of operations, we have had 3 incidences of escape. Now, no incidents of escape should be condoned. These are serious matters.
Chair, he's not answering me. I'll pass on that, because this is a breach. How you put it in jargons, it's still a breach of contract between G4S and DCS. The night that Thabo Bester applied for isolation for his own safety, that's what we're told. That he applied for his own safety on the basis that he feared that he did not pay for the protection fee or whatever, then he needed to be taken away to isolation, which in terms of segregation. This was done on the 15th of April, 2022, 2 weeks before, the actual day of the fire. He was in South 16th Street 2 Waltz unit before he moved to segregation. And upon moving to segregation, whilst his paperwork was still pending approval to guarantee him to be in segregation, he was automatically moved to cell 35. And when he was taken to cell 35, there was an inmate already in that cell 35 who was moved for Thabo to be taken in. Who was in charge of that process of approval? And why did we move Bester to 35 whilst he was supposed to be at holding cells, waiting approval to be taken in? Who deals with that approval? And why did we take that decision of taking him pending the approval?
Honourable Member, I'll ask Mr. Beineveld to answer that question in terms of the process that was applied. I just want to correct one date that you mentioned. Inmate Bester applied to be moved to Broadway on the 30th of April and not, as you suggested, on the 15th of April.
Then it means you officials of G4S and management are not speaking. Mr. Ndondolo, who took us to an unannounced visit last week on Wednesday, we're in Bloemfontein in Mangaung, indicated that Thabo Bester applied on the 15th of April.
But
he was moved to isolation, and we were taken through that process. You see, I speak on authority because of I was there. I'm able to detect, and whilst we were there, I was taking notes. I normally use my phone for taking notes. So, Mr. Ndondolo, it's unfortunate you did not bring him here. And we did ask him last week that would like G4S to bring Ndondolo here, so that what we say here and what he would have said to us there, they're able to correlate. He makes mention, my colleagues are with me here, that 15th of April, Thabo Bester applied for isolation in fear of his life.
Apologies, Honourable Member. I thought that you mentioned that on 15th of April, Mr. Bester was moved to Broadway. So my apologies for that. You were referring to the date he applied to be moved.
Yes, he applied on the 15th, even pending even when you moved him to segregation. His papers were pending approval. He was not approved, but he was moved already.
Okay.
Why was he put in isolation whilst his papers were pending approval?
Okay,
Who authorized for that?
Okay, I will hand over to Mr. Beineveld, who can give you all the information.